One of the things I wish I would have emphasized when I did the cnidarian video is that for the lifestyle of cnidarians, even though technically they are predators, technically most of them are carnivores, there's not really an advantage to having a head, which is why they can have this radial symmetry. Why? Because even though they're predators, they don't go chasing after their prey. They just drift around waiting for their prey to be careless enough to bump into them. And that usually works for them. But now we're going to start talking about animals that have bilateral symmetry. And as soon as we got bilateral symmetry, we had this process of cephalization, which means the formation of a region known as a head. And the first organisms that we're talking about, not all of them technically have got heads with little teeny tiny brains in them, but some of them do. So we're going to be talking about the flatworms. The flatworms are properly known as Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes. And I already told you what Platyhelminthes means. Platy means flat, like a plate is flat, and helminthes means worms. So this is literally like Greek for flatworms. So the flatworms are called flatworms. They are the simplest of the bilateral animals, and they do not have a body cavity. If I was a little flatworm surgeon, I could not make an incision and open them up and find a space inside. There's no space inside. They're a solid chunk of cells that have some specialization. Now, many of the flatworms are free living. The planarians, and I hope you get to see some really good videos of them. They're actually cool. I know they're flatworms, and I'm not that crazy. I'm not going to keep them as pets, but they're kind of cute. They kind of move around, and they kind of look cross-eyed and look like they've got cute little bunny ears. They're a little bit cute. Planariums can be very, very abundant in streams, eating, decomposing algae and such. So a lot of them are free living. The ones that aren't free living are parasites, like on us. Couple of things you should know about the flatworms. Please remember they have no body cavity, and technically that means no coelom. No coelom. Why coelom is pronounced coelom, I don't know. I just obey, okay? They also have the beginning of a brain. They've got nerve tissue and they have got muscle cells that go the length of the body. And then they have got little clusters of nerve tissue. That's the beginning of a little teeny tiny brain. The planaria, not all flatworms, but the planaria have got eye spots. Now, they're not eyes, not yet. They are regions that are right there by their little teeny tiny proto-brains that respond to light. Flatworms try to stay away from light because they need to stay away from the heat that light would bring. So the eye spots help them go away from bright light, hopefully to where stuff is decomposing that they can eat. Weird thing about flatworms, as if any of this was normal so far, they only have one opening to their digestive tract. Their digestive tract is still considered a gastrovascular cavity. Remember that big opening inside of the cnidarians was a gastrovascular cavity. It was kind of just a stomach, right? These flatworms, they've got actually a pretty complicated digestive tract, but there's only one way in, and anything that doesn't get digested needs to come out that way. That means they have a mouth, but no anus. So just a mouth, things go in, things come back out. So only a single opening to their digestive tract, which is known as an incomplete digestive tract. Incomplete digestive tract means it's got a mouth, but no anus. The rest of the organisms we will be talking about have got complete digestive tracts. So it's just the cnidarians and the platyhelminthes that do not. What else do you need to know about the flatworms? Okay, let's talk about the parasite flatworms, because there will be specific questions on these, and I'm going to show you pictures, and you need to be able to identify them. So do yourself a favor and have a look at lots of pictures of tapeworms and the parts of them, pictures of liver flukes, and make sure you answer the questions in our lab activity, lung fluke, and then, oh, I don't think we're going to be talking much about schistosomiasis. I should take that one off of the slide. All right, let's start with tapeworms. Tapeworms do not have a brain. They don't have an intestinal tract at all. They live inside of your digestive tract. So you digest the food, and once it's been digested, they just soak it up through their skin. They don't really have skin, but you know what I mean. They just soak it up directly. And that's why they don't need a digestive system. They absorb the nutrients straight through their cells. They have got a weird shape. Let me show you, okay? They have got one part of them that is known as the scolex. Make sure you know the name scolex. Make sure you can recognize it. The scolex is the one part of the tapeworm, a type of flatworm, that actually attaches the entire worm to the inside of your intestinal tract. So it's there. This part might be hooked onto, you know, some part of your intestinal tract, and the rest of this is just drifting around as all of your digested food is going by. So one segment is called the scolex, and the scolex will have suckers or hooks. In this case, it's got both, and those suckers and hooks attach it to the inside of you so that as the food moves through you, the worm doesn't move through you too. The worm doesn't want to go out in your poop. It wants to stay there and get fed. Now, all of these other segments, bing, 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 and they get incredibly long. All those other segments are called proglottids. What am I doing? I'm doing it wrong, evidently. Pen. Okay, there we go. All of these other segments are called proglottids. And the proglottids don't really have much at all to do except for to make eggs and sperm. That's all they do. They make eggs and sperm. They are hermaphrodites. So every individual, if you have a single worm, it fertilizes itself. And these little guys, the proglottids, like that's a proglottid and that's a proglottid, their job is to just make eggs and sperm, have the eggs for the sperm fertilize the eggs, have the eggs start to develop into something that is ready to hit the outside world. And then one by one, these guys will just kind of pop off, and these come out in poop. And when when they come out in the poop, if you ever have a dog that has got tapeworms or a cat, they just kind of move kind of like an inchworm. They kind of look weird. They definitely look wormy. And they kind of walk away from the poop. And then their job is to get swallowed up by a flea. And fleas will eat them. I don't know why, but fleas will eat these guys. And then once the fertilized egg is inside of a flea, it has another part of its life cycle. And then when the cat or the dog is like chewing at itself because it's got fleas and it swallows fleas, then it reinfects itself. Okay? So that is the tapeworm. Humans can get tapeworms. You know, back in like the late 1800s, they used to sell tapeworm proglottids as a treatment for obesity. I know, weird, right? Okay. Now, another flatworm, different flatworm, totally different, okay? This is the liver fluke. The liver fluke and the lung fluke, both of them we get by eating undercooked seafood, all right? No, not necessarily seafood. Could be freshwater fish too. So the liver fluke I don't need you to know its name. I probably in a question will refer to it as the liver fluke. Okay. The liver fluke, it kind of looks like this. It is also a hermaphrodite. How do you know that something is a hermaphrodite? A hermaphrodite means it has got organs that make sperm, but also organs that make eggs. A hermaphrodite most of the time is capable of fertilizing itself, but if there's another fluke in the same individual, then the sperm can fertilize the eggs of the other fluke. The liver fluke lives in the tubes of the liver called the bile ducts and survives being surrounded by bile, which is a little weird by itself. And it makes fertilized eggs because it fertilizes itself. And those fertilized eggs go into the intestinal tract of the human and come out in the poop. And if that poop ends up in the waterways, like in a rice paddy or in a local stream or pond, then those will infect the snails that live in the stream or pond or rice paddy. And that will be what is called an intermediate host. Snails are an intermediate host for the liver fluke. Then after that stage, there will be a second stage that will infect the fish that live in the same body of water. And now they will have this form of the liver fluke that is hidden inside of their muscles. And then if people eat the fish, particularly if they eat the fish raw or undercooked, then that is how they get liver flukes. You may have heard of people getting liver flukes by eating sushi. And it is possible to do that. Generally, well-trained sushi chefs know what to look for. One time, my husband and I, we went to eat sushi in some place outside of Las Vegas. And like the sushi chefs just looked like some redneck guy. And I was like, I'm just going to have the cooked sushi here. So I didn't quite trust their training. They might have been very well-trained sushi chefs. So what are the intermediate hosts? The snail and the fish. And by the way, because of global climate change, waters are warmer. And also wherever people are farming, we put more fertilizer into local waterways. And that means that there will be more snails in those waterways, which creates more of these guys, which creates more infected fish. So since global climate change and what people do to waterways, in the areas where there is this liver fluke, they are more likely to have it. One big solution to not having liver flukes in your fish is to have good sanitation. If no human poop goes in there, you'll have many fewer liver flukes in those fish, right? This is what a liver fluke looks like, right? And I want you to notice something. They also don't have a digestive tract. They don't really need one because they are surrounded by the nutrition made by the liver. They've got a sucker that's holding them in place. And then what? They have just got a whole lot of egg-making stuff, a whole lot of sperm-making stuff. They're basically just a little reproductive machine. And they are hermaphrodites. And you know they're hermaphrodites because they have sperm-making stuff and egg-making stuff. We will start roundworms as our last video.